Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Yasmeen and I am 18 years old. So for everyone applying to university right now, I know the stress can literally eat you alive, but don't you guys worry, because today I'm going to be guiding you through the entire application process for Canadian universities, specifically in Ontario. So just for like some background context, I currently am a second year university student at McGill University in Montreal, and yes, I know Montreal is not in Ontario, but I did apply to a couple of schools in Ontario. So yeah, I definitely do have a lot to say about that, and I'm also going to be giving you guys a few juicy tips and tricks to kind of maximize your benefits throughout this process, and also at the same time make this process as easy as possible for you. So before I get straight into this video, I'm just going to be giving you guys a little bit of background context about myself and like my application process, just so you guys kind of know where I stand. So I originally am Lebanese, and I grew up and I lived in Abu Dhabi basically my entire life. So when I applied as an international student. However, I do have dual citizenship, so I'm half Canadian, half Lebanese. So regarding my application process, I feel like I stand somewhere in the middle, because I applied as a Canadian, but also at the same time I applied as an international student. So yeah, I think I can give my 2 cents for both people who are applying as Canadians and people who are applying as international students and people who are applying as both. Okay, so now we're just gonna get straight into it. Basically, for your Canadian university applications that are specifically for Ontario, you're going to be applying through a platform called OUAC, and OUAC stands for Ontario University Application Center, and basically this is just a platform that processes all your online university applications, and it basically connects you, your high school, and the universities that you're applying to. So for the application process, there are 2 different applications that you can apply to. So first, there's the Undergrad 101 application, and this is for current Ontario high school students. So if you're a student studying in Ontario right now, this is the application for you. And then there is the Undergrad 105 application, and this is for both international students and Canadian students that are not currently studying in a high school that's in Ontario. So the thing that I really like about OUAC is that even if you don't really have an idea of the universities that you want to apply to, or if you want to do a little more digging into different programs and explore different programs, then you have the option to do that on OUAC, because basically you can explore all of the different universities in Ontario and all of the different programs that they have. And for each program, there's actually a link that takes you to the university's website, and it gives you more information on that specific program, and it includes information such as like grade requirements, deadlines, etc., all of the types of nitty-gritty things that you're going to need to know for that specific program and that specific university. So the way that the application process works in most Canadian universities is you're applying to a specific program or to a specific faculty rather than the university as a whole, and you actually do have the option to apply to multiple programs. However, depending on the university, there is going to be a limit. So for some universities, there might be a limit to how many programs you can apply to in a specific faculty, and for other universities there might just be a limit on how many programs you can apply to overall. So personally, I would advise everyone to apply to at least 2 programs when it comes to universities that are a little bit more competitive, or universities that you feel like are a little bit out of your reach. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to pick the program of your choice and the faculty of your choice and put that as your #1 choice on the application process. But if that specific program or faculty or the school in general is a little bit more competitive, then you want to higher your chances. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick another program or another faculty that you feel like you might be interested in that also has easier requirements or just less requirements, or you think it's a bit more realistic for you, and put that as your second choice. So the reason that I'm saying this is because it really is gonna higher your chances. So if you don't necessarily get into your first choice, it doesn't mean that they're completely going to reject you from the university as a whole, because then they're going to move on to evaluate you on your second choice. And if it is something that you feel like is more realistic for you, or just more realistic for you to get in, then yeah, you definitely do have a chance of getting in, even though it's not specifically your first choice program or your first choice faculty, because I know for some people they prioritize the university over the specific thing that they're studying. I mean, I did. Okay, so next we are going to be talking about the cost. So when you're applying through OUAC, each program costs $50. However, there is a minimum payment of $150. So even if you just apply to one program, you're gonna be paying $150 anyway. So yeah, I would really recommend that you guys apply to the 3 programs minimum, because anyway you're gonna have more options and you're gonna be paying $150 anyways. And yeah, if you do apply to 3 programs, every additional program after that would be $50. So if you're applying to 4 programs, it's $200, 5 programs, $250. You guys get it, you guys can do math. Okay, so next, after you send in your application, you're going to receive an email from each of the universities that you apply to, and these emails are going to contain information on what the next steps are. And they're definitely gonna give you your login information for their university portal. And guys, this is very, very important, trust me, because everything you're going to need to upload, or everything you're going to need to send, or whatever information that they want to send you, or whatever information that you're going to receive, is going to be through each university's specific portal. This includes things like your admission decisions, your proof of citizenship, supplemental forms, anything that the university might specifically need from you is going to be on their specific portal. Okay, so next we're going to be moving on to the grades and the offers, because grades and offers come hand in hand. So obviously there's going to be different requirements for every single university and different requirements for every single program. However, something that also plays a big role is your high school education, because the program that you studied in high school has an effect on the requirements that you're going to need to get into the university. And basically what I'm talking about is if you were in the IB program, AP program, Canadian system, French bac, Lebanese bac, American system, IGCSE, literally they're all different programs, so the requirements are going to differ based on the program that you specifically studied in. So obviously what you're going to do is you're going to have to do some research based on your program and the programs that you're applying to and the unis that you're applying to. So what I did to find out the specific requirements I needed for the programs that I applied to based on my education system in high school was I googled the name of the university, the program I was applying to, and then the program that I was in high school. So I'm gonna give you guys an example. When I applied to University of Toronto, I just googled University of Toronto marketing major IB requirements, because I was in the IB program. So yeah, it's basically as simple as that. So when it comes to grade requirements, it differs based on the university. So some universities have a cutoff average, which is basically when they don't consider applications below a certain average. And then some other universities have like a competitive average. So as long as you're above it or around it, you'll be okay. So again, do your research and dig more deep into the specific uni and the specific program. So also when it comes to sending in grades, I know a lot of people ask about what grades you're required to send in, and it doesn't only necessarily depend on your program, it also kind of depends on where you are in the world. So for me, I was in the IB program and I was required to send in my grade 10, grade 11, and grade 12 grades plus my IB scores. However, for some of my friends who are attending high school here, only had to send in their grade 11 and grade 12 grades. So again, it really just depends on your system, depends on your program, kind of depends on where you are in the world. Dig in, do your research, and trust me guys, all the information or all the resources you could possibly need is all online. So next, obviously by the time that you're applying for your application, you wouldn't have already graduated high school. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna send in all the grades that you have up till that point. So for example, if you are sending in your application after you're finished with your first semester of your senior year, then you're gonna send in all the grades you have up till that point. And basically what's going to happen is that the universities are going to evaluate you and give you an offer or not give you an offer based on all the grades that you send in up till that point, because that's all the grades that you have up till that point. However, that does not mean that the rest of the grades and the rest of your senior year do not count, because they definitely do. Basically, even if you do get an acceptance, your acceptance is only conditional. And what that means is that you are accepted based on the expectation that you are going to maintain your grades until you graduate. And basically what happens next is that when all of your final scores come out after you graduate, your high school is responsible for uploading them onto each university portal, and then the universities are going to evaluate your final scores, and then they're going to either send you your final acceptance, which is not conditional, fully an acceptance, or they're going to take back their conditional acceptance and tell you, sorry, you did not meet the requirements. So yeah, the rest of your grade 12 grades really do matter. Keep that in mind. You are expected to maintain whatever average you have if you were accepted by a university. Okay, so moving on, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, most Canadian universities only care about grades. So they're not gonna be asking you for what extracurriculars you did in high school or all of that. They genuinely don't care. However, depending on your program, it is a possibility that they might ask for a little bit extra spice. So it is possible that they ask you to fill out some supplemental forms or to answer some essay questions where they just might ask you a little bit about yourself, or they just kind of want to understand your way of thinking or just kind of learn more about you. So for an example, in my experience, Queen's University's business program asked me to answer a couple of essay questions, and I had to fill out a supplemental form. For University of Toronto's business program, I also had to do a kind of virtual interview, and let me tell you guys, basically they would ask me a question and then there would be a 3-second countdown. So I just had 3 seconds to think, and then they would record my answers and then I would send them in. So yeah, again, it really just depends on your program. Definitely everything is going to be on the university portal. So if you are required to do interviews or send in supplemental forms or send in like a creative portfolio or whatever it is, all that information is going to be on your university portal. So make sure you're watching out for that. And guys, if you are asked for that little bit extra spice or that little bit extra that they might want from you, make sure you send in everything that they need, because if you don't, you're not gonna get an offer from this university because your application is going to be considered incomplete. So speaking of getting an offer from universities, we're going to be moving on to getting offers from universities. So basically there are 3 different methods that universities use to give out offers, and again, it just depends on the university, so make sure you do your research. The first method is when they give out offers on a rolling basis, and what that means is they're giving out offers as applications are coming in. So it's just continuous, so it can literally come at any time. And if a university is giving out offers on a rolling basis, then the earlier you send in your application, the earlier you're going to get your admission decision. The second method is when universities pick one day and release all of the offers of admission for all of the applicants all on the same day. I know that Queen's University's e-commerce program does this, Waterloo's health science program does this. Again, it just depends on the university, depends on the program. Do your research. And the third method is when there are 3 different rounds of offers. So the first round is when they're going to be looking at your grade 11 grades. If your grade 11 grades are like amazing, they're top notch, then they're probably just gonna give you admission from the first round because they already know you're a qualified candidate. But sometimes they do want to do a little bit more evaluation, so then your application will move on to round 2. And in round 2, they evaluate your grade 11 and your grade 12 grades. So if your grade 11 and your grade 12 grades meet the requirements, then they're probably just going to give you an offer in the second round. However, if they still do want to do more evaluations, then sometimes your application will just move on to the third round where they review everything all over again, and sometimes they just do that because they want to wait for final scores, or sometimes they just want to see if there are more grades that you have that they can further evaluate your application on. So yeah, in the end of the day, when the university does decide on a final admission decision for you, you're going to get that update on your portal. Again, everything is going to be updated on that university specific portal, and when there is that update on the portal, you are going to be receiving an email that's basically saying, hey, there's an update, go check it out. But you are going to be receiving the email probably like a few days after the update is already there, and that's probably why you're always seeing like students refreshing like their screens and refreshing their university portals, because they always constantly want to see if there's an update on their admissions decision. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it when it comes to grades and offers. So next we're going to be moving on to my number one tip to all students, whether you are applying as a Canadian or applying as an international student or whatever. Something that is seriously going to make your life so much easier, this is going to make such a big difference, is you making an Excel spreadsheet. And trust me guys, this really does make a difference, because there is going to be so much for you to keep track of, and it's really difficult to keep track of everything because things can easily get lost in the back of your head. So, and like I said earlier, if you do miss something, sometimes your application can be considered as incomplete, and that's obviously going to put you at a huge disadvantage. So yeah, make a spreadsheet, include all the information like your login information, what's kind of documents you need to send in, whether you have supplemental forms, deadlines for supplemental forms, deadlines to send in grades. But yeah, again, there's just so many things that you're gonna need to keep track of. So let me actually tell you guys a story from my personal experience. So I applied to maybe 4 universities in Ontario, and one of them was Ryerson University. So for that application, I did have like supplemental forms, and I did have to send in my grades and whatever. And something that was really bothering me during my application process was that there was a mistake, and it basically said on my application form that I sent in my grades when I know I didn't send in my grades. And that was stressing me out so much, because I knew I didn't send in my grades, but I didn't jot it down. I didn't write down like, did I do this or did I not do this? So I kept questioning myself, and it was just so stressful at the moment. And like, obviously now it doesn't matter because I got into that university anyway, and at the same time it's not like I go there anyway, but I just remember at the time it just made everything so much more stressful for me, because it was just on my mind all the time, and I would constantly be emailing people and constantly be calling people, and I would never get a response, and I was always just like, oh my god, like what if I ruined this whole application? Like, I don't know what to do. So yeah guys, trust me, you're going to need that spreadsheet. You're gonna need to keep track of your shit. Okay, so next I just have a few notes for some of the international students who are going to need a little bit of guidance. So if you're an international student who got their secondary education in a language other than English, then you are 100% going to be asked to take a test for English language proficiency, and you have 2 options. You have the IELTS and then you have the TOFEL. However, I just want to note that even if you did study or did get your secondary education in English, then you still might be asked to send in scores from your IELTS or your TOFEL if you weren't necessarily in an external program like the IB program or the AP program or IGCSE or whatever, because you know, those programs are international and they're recognized by all universities, so you don't need to prove that, yeah, I do speak English. But yeah, again, it really just depends on your program, so that's something that you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper into. However, even if you think that you don't need it, I 100% would highly recommend that you do it anyway, because for me personally, even though I didn't need it and I wasn't asked for it, in the end, one of the universities ended up asking me for my IELTS scores, and if I didn't do the exam, then I would have been in a kind of big dilemma. So yeah, it's just important that you guys do the English proficiency exam just in case, because you honestly never know if you might need it if you're an international student. So speaking of standardized tests, we're going to be moving on to the SATs. So regarding the SATs, for most Canadian universities, they don't typically ask for it, but if you are applying on the basis of a US diploma, then you might be asked for your SAT scores. So yeah, again, generally, you're probably not going to be asked for it, but do it just in case. And also, I don't know, I've never met anyone who didn't do the SATs. I mean, I think it's like a basic high school graduation requirement to do the SATs anyway. So yeah, guys, even if they don't ask, do these tests. And in the end of the day, if you do get a really high score or like an above average score, you can still send in your SAT score even if it's not a requirement, because if you think it's something that's going to benefit your application, then it definitely can be something that you send in, and it definitely can be something that can serve as an advantage to you. So yeah, I would recommend any opportunity you have that can benefit your application, then do it, take it. Trust me you guys, you're not going to lose anything from doing an extra test. Okay guys, so the last topic that we're going to be touching upon today is all about external programs, specifically regarding the IB program and the AP program. So I know that I talked about external programs and IB and AP so much throughout this video, but now I just kind of want to take the chance to dig deeper into this topic and kind of give you my honest opinion and try to give you as much detail and explanation as possible regarding this topic, because I know, I don't want to say it's controversial, but a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about this, and I just kind of want to give you my experience and my opinions and what I genuinely think is the best for you guys. So just to get into it, whenever people talk about the IB programs and the AP programs regarding university, you either hear one of two things. Either people tell you that you really, really need it, or they tell you that you really, really don't. So when you're an international student, it honestly really does make a difference for you. And the reason that I'm saying this is because typically universities have less space for, or like less spots available for international students, or they maybe prioritize other students versus international students. So what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to maximize your chances of getting in as much as possible. So what you're gonna want is for your application to stand out at least a little bit more than just the average application. And for that to happen, I don't want to say you need IB or you need AP, but something that's 100% gonna serve as a huge advantage is when universities see that you are studying in a very rigorous program or a very challenging program. Like, I don't know if you guys already know this, but the IB program is considered the most rigorous program on an international scale, and it's something that is recognized on an international scale. So again, the reason that I'm emphasizing this on international students who want to get into competitive universities or top tier universities is, number one, obviously because they're challenging, but number two, it's because when you're studying in an external program or like an international program, the universities really are able to trust that your scores are an accurate representation of your level of education. So basically the way that it was explained to me was that if you're studying in an international program that's recognized by all universities, then when you send in your scores and it says A or B minus, they know exactly what those grades mean, because they already know how hard your program was, or they already know the level of your program, or they already know your level based on the program. They know how your exams were. They know what you were learning. They know how you were learning. There's just so much more that they're aware of when you're in an external program than when you're not. And again, there are usually limited spots for international students. So if you're studying in a rigorous program and you're meeting the requirements and you're getting really high grades, then that is going to push your application so much more to the top. Like, trust me guys, it really is going to play a huge advantage for you. Something that I always say is that I'm so grateful that I was in the IB program, because I genuinely don't think that I would have gotten into the schools that I got into. Like, I'm so thankful, because McGill is my dream university. Even University of Toronto was one of my dream universities, and I think something that made my application so much stronger was the fact that I was in the IB system. And honestly everyone around me, at least in my uni, either did like AP, IB, was in the Canadian system, did like the CEGEP system, you know, or the French bac system, or the Lebanese bac, you know, those rigorous external programs that the universities recognize. So despite everything I said, I just want to put a huge disclaimer right now. So I just want to clarify that I'm not saying that, oh, if you're not in IB or you're not in AP, then you're not gonna get into university. That's not what I'm saying at all. Everyone is definitely going to university. Everyone has a shot. Everyone has a chance. But all I'm saying is, when you're studying in a rigorous program and you're applying to a competitive university and you're an international student, when you are in those rigorous programs, it's going to serve as an advantage for you. It's going to push your application to the top. It's going to add a little bit of spice. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, guys, to conclude, honestly, the application process for Canadian universities is not difficult. It's pretty much kind of stress-free. I mean, the process itself is stress-free. Definitely waiting around for your application admission decision is super stressful, so I'm really hoping that what you guys got out of this video kind of eases your stress, makes this process so much easier for you, less stressful, and I hope it gave you guys some tips and tricks on some things that you can do that can kind of push your application to the top. Or, you know, generally, I just hope it clarified some things for you guys. And if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video. And if you guys are looking for more advice-related videos, make sure you guys are tuned in every single Tuesday. I upload a new video every single Tuesday at 12 p.m. Montreal time. So yeah, as usual, if there's any specific kind of video you guys ever want me to do, make sure you put it in the comment section down below, and I am more than happy to do it. I'll see you guys next week.